After somehow taking the world by storm, everyone's favorite new bootleg Pokemon game is skyrocketing up the gaming charts, amassing 19 million players across both Steam and Xbox. Just on Steam alone, it's become the second most played game on the platform with over 2 million peak players, coming in second only to PUBG. It's a feat that's just so utterly mind-blowing to me, especially for an indie game that had barely any marketing to begin with. I remember years ago seeing memed clips of great value Pokemon working in sweatshops and carrying guns and thinking, this looks weird, and then seeing nothing about it for years until BAM! It's suddenly one of the biggest game releases of 2024. I didn't really know what to expect from Palworld as its release date inched closer and closer, but the whole concept of Pokemon with guns with a little bit of slavery sprinkled on top seemed fairly interesting, but I was worried the game would end up being just a little bit stinky.
Never buy no grapple gun from the gas station, bro.
Especially because Pocket Pair, the developers of Palworld, also made another similar title called Craftopia that is really just a very unsubtle ripoff of Breath of the Wild. I guess they really do live by the motto, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. But after actually getting to sit down and play Palworld, I have to say it's pretty good. Shockingly good, if I'm being entirely honest, and if you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks and have somehow missed all of the Palworld news and controversy, allow me to fill you in on the details. Like 75% of other indie games today, Palworld is an open-world survival crafting game where you fight for survival in a hostile world inhabited by creatures known as pals. Adorable little critters that can only be described as legally distinct Pokemon. Seriously, these things look like you would find them at some shady boardwalk kiosk right there beside Special Man and Funny Person. In fact, these similarities got so out of hand, the horde of armchair detectives on Twitter took to tearing the game apart. I mean, it is 2024, you can't go 2 days of a game's release without there being some kind of massive controversy. They accuse the developers of not only plagiarizing some of their designs, but outright stealing official Pokemon models and incorporating them into their characters, in addition to utilizing AI to create some game assets. That little tidbit about AI ended up being entirely untrue and was really only suggested in the first place because Pocket Pair released a game a while ago called AI Art Imposter that uses AI image generation as a main gameplay feature, as well as having their CEO Takuro Mizobi praise the potential of using AI image generation in a creative context. To be honest, some of the designs kind of blur the line between inspiration and outright copying. The survival craft mechanics are pretty standard for a game of this genre. You chop down trees, mine some rocks, butcher cute animals. It's got all of your average survival game fare. And as far as games of this type go, you'd get pretty much the same experience whether you played this, or Minecraft, or Valheim, or any of the other 50 kajillion survival crafting games that are out there on the market today. But that's not to say Palworld is a bad game by any means. All of the mechanics that are here work really well. It just doesn't revolutionize on any of them. The game's unique charm really starts to shine when you mix in the pals. Even though Nintendo would never admit it, these things are pretty much just Pokemon, so you can obviously have them fight for you. Though really, the pal battling probably has the least amount of depth compared to the other things that they can do. Battles are entirely automatic, with pals moving and attacking all on their own, except for a singular partner ability that you can manually activate, such as Jolthog's Jolt Bomb ability, where you literally pick it up and chuck it like an electric grenade. Other abilities are more utility-oriented, such as being able to ride certain pals like Malpaka or Nightwing. But absolutely nothing tops the fact that you can give some pals actual guns and they can use them in combat. There's just something utterly hilarious about seeing a little small, cute, itsy-bitsy grass squirrel mow down a 7-foot tall deer with a submachine gun. Or if you're particularly unhinged, why not load a penguin into a rocket launcher and have it literally explode when it hits its target? Even though the joke is exceptionally old at this point, Palworld is constantly described as Pokemon with guns, but to me, it's really better to describe it as Pokemon meets Ark. Truthfully, the game's main facets of survival craft and monster collection are fairly shallow. On their own, neither of them really stand out as being all that fantastic. Yet somehow, Pocket Pair struck gold by mixing both of these very different genres together into a combination that's a better match than my car keys and a 6-pack of Coors Light. In all actuality, the mechanics of these two vastly different styles of game mix together far better than you would think, mainly because they play on that addictive aspect of just one more. If I go get this ore, I can craft one more item, or I can build the perfect team if I catch just one more pal. Together they make an addiction feedback loop that keeps the player hooked and constantly engaged. And it all comes together perfectly when you discover the main mechanic of the game, indentured servitude. Pals aren't just good for fighting, you can actually bring them back to your base and give them all sorts of different jobs to do. Some are good at growing crops, while others are handy in front of a workbench. At my own base, I had a team of 3 pals that would rotate between crop plantations, constantly planting, watering, and harvesting berries and wheat to keep both me and my pals fed. I also had some pals that would continuously mine rocks and chop down trees, so I wouldn't have to keep going out on my own to find basic resources. Plus, some pals will even store items in chests for you completely on their own. You could develop a fully automated base that's constantly producing resources, so you could spend more time collecting even more pals to feed into the orphan grinding machine. Even though other games have successfully tackled the automation aspect of survival craft, arguably doing it a little bit better, there's just something wonderful about watching adorable little animals toil away at back-breaking labor. But to me, this isn't what makes Palworld so great. It's the fact that it's a subversion of everything the monster collection genre and the survival craft genre have to offer, especially Pokemon. And it's about as subtle in that fact as a shotgun blast to the face. One of the main parts of Pokemon is the bond a trainer has with their team of Mons. Especially in the anime, trainers are shown to treat their Pokemon as friends, and sometimes even as family. Especially in the case of Ash's mom and Mr. Mime. You know he's definitely calling her mommy. Palworld takes this whole concept of love and friendship and pretty much tosses it right out the window. This is where Palworld's parody aspect comes into play because it pokes fun at all of those mildly disturbing things in Pokemon that we just overlook. Take a look at the simple act of just catching a pal. Just like in Pokemon, you have to weaken it down first before you're able to catch it, but it's significantly more brutal and a whole lot more hilarious to pound the snot out of a cute little sheep with your own fists rather than having another animal do it for you. Or just take a look at the fact that you can literally butcher pals with your own hands and feed them to the other pals in your party. It's the most adorable and hilarious version of Soylent Green I think I've ever seen. Even when you fail to catch a pal, the game will straight up call it a cheeky bastard. The game does not expect you to see these things as more than adorable punching bags. But even though I treated my pals about as well as Amazon treats their delivery drivers, I still formed more of a connection with them than I ever have with any Pokemon in any game ever. And that's because you actually do have to care for them. You craft them beds, hot tubs to relax in, and give them food to eat. Plus, you actually get to see your pals walk around your base and do things that directly help you. And you don't just sit back and watch them fight either. You can actually jump in with them and get your hands dirty too. With Pokemon, all you do is let them out of the ball once in a while, do a little battle here and there, and then boop, right back in they go. I care more about these pals than I have ever cared about Pokemon because they actually feel like a living, breathing part of the world. That's what makes Palworld so good, and honestly, so much better than Pokemon, especially when you compare it to the more recent installments in the franchise. The games just aren't doing enough to break the mold that was established 27 years ago. And I don't mean to sound like a video game elitist, but I need a lot more depth for my video games, and it's a lot more than Pokemon offers, especially for RPGs. It's just the same old song and dance over and over again that they occasionally mix up with some gimmick like Mega Evolutions or Dynamaxing. Not to mention, since Pokemon came to Switch, the series as a whole has been the equivalent of hot dog vomit on a technical level. Graphically, the games in Generations 8 and 9 would maybe look impressive if they launched on the N64. And at launch, these games had horrid performance issues and numerous glitches, enough to make Todd Howard quiver with excitement. Frankly, it's a little ridiculous that a franchise like Pokemon, which rakes in billions and billions of dollars every year, still produces games that just suck. And I sound a little hypocritical saying this, especially when I still partake in the trading card game, but that's a main reason also why I just don't buy or play any of the newer games. boy am I happy my addictive personality got me hooked on shiny cardboard instead of fentanyl or horse tranquilizers. I am very, very happy to see Palworld doing so well on the charts, mainly because I hope that success lights a fire underneath Game Freak to make Pokemon games that excel not just on a technical level, but games that also break the mold the series has relied on for far, far too long. Palworld shows that you can do so much more with the creature collection genre than just doing another monster battler. Game Freak may have set the standard back in 1996, but Pocket Pair has proven that the times have changed and people are expecting far more from their games than another milquetoast, bare-bones RPG. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and let me know what you thought of the video down in the comments below. And do be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care.